Hello humans, Master Dinnerflex here, bringing you the low quality content you deserve, and today, I know a lot of people are terrified of Crossout Designator. This card really changes how we have to stop combo decks, and sometimes it feels like there's nothing we can do against combo decks. But, while this card does present a problem to the game, I found a very interesting counter to this card. Now, normally, a lot of times, and even in a more competitive sense, I think the best counter, if you're actually terrified of Designator, would be Lancia. Lancia obviously not only stops Crossout Designator from resolving, but at the same time, Lancia is just always, like, a playable hand trap outside of some formats. But it, like, always has utility outside of Crossout Designator. Now, this one's a bit different. Because this one effectively can only ever, like, stop Crossout Designator. But when I say stop Crossout Designator, it's way worse. Because if this card simply just negated Crossout Designator, I wouldn't even make a video on it. Instead, it's way more powerful. And this card is Engraver of the Mark. It is a level 4 Dark Spellcaster hand trap monster, and its effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect by declaring exactly one card name, you can send this card from the hand to the graveyard and declare another card name, and that declared card name becomes what they declared. So, here's where this is kind of terrifying. If Crossout Designator declares a card, it doesn't banish it for cost. That is not the cost. Instead, the cost is declaring the name. So when you have the ability to warp it to something else, here's what's actually happening. Because you could just declare nothing. Like, you could declare Shape Snatch, or some WoW Warrior generic do-nothing vanilla monster, and it effectively negates the Crossout Designator. But that's not what you do with this card. Let's put it into some gameplay scenarios. Your opponent, in the future, normal summons Moye to reveal one of the Sword Soul monsters. Let's just say Longyun. And you chain Effect Veiler to this Moye. Try to get their engine not functioning. And they're going to be cute, and they're going to activate Crossout Designator, and they're going to call Effect Veiler. So what you do is you discard Engraver of the Mark, and instead of calling whatever you want that you know they don't play, you are instead going to call the most important follow-up in the Sword Soul deck, which is Longyun. Longyun is one of the only ways this deck plays through a disruption, so if you call that, not only does your Effect Veiler resolve, but your opponent's own Crossout Designator both banished a resource out of their deck and preventing them from using that same resource, regardless of how many copies they have, for that entire turn. They literally go a full turn without access to the most important card in their deck. And this isn't even just talking about Sword Soul. Let's take it to another example. Let's say you're going against Drytron, and you Cycle Reader, DD Crow, Effect Veiler, one of their things. They chain Crossout Designator, you chain Engraver, call Meteonis Drytron. The only card in their entire deck that allows them to Ritual Summon has been taken out, and in addition, even if they play more than one copy, that turn they still cannot Ritual Summon. So they're just screwed. They don't have access to any of the rituals. They have to entirely rely on their extra deck to try to stay in the game, which is very easy to punish. But even if you're just like, your opponent just activated a random card you need to hand trap, and you're not really sure what deck your opponent's playing when they activate that Crossout, you can just call cards you don't want your opponent to use after that chain resolves. Let's say, oh yeah, if I get Talents here, it could actually be really bad, so I'm just going to call Triple Tactics Talents. Now, even if they don't play it, it doesn't matter, because that means it wasn't a threat. But more importantly, they do play it, that means they lose one out of their deck, and any they have in hand, or any they get to, won't do anything that turn. Or you're like, let's just make sure my opponent has no follow-up, so I'm going to declare Desires. Okay, they banish the Desires out of the deck if they have them, and for the rest of the turn, Desires doesn't do anything. That's the idea with Engraver of the Mark. You're not just negating the card, you are also declaring the best card in their deck and turning it off for a turn. Or even just banishing an engine requirement. Because if your opponent is being a little cute and they're playing this deck with a whole bunch of random Garnets that needs to function, just declare one of the Garnets, like, I guess if Infernity you can call Launcher, and that deck no longer functions. That's basically the idea of Engraver of the Mark. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Do I think this card will actually be good? Probably not. The chances of Crossout Designator being so oppressive that we're effectively playing an anti-Regeki for it are very low. However, unlike anti-Regeki or other cards like it that only realistically negate one card, this card doesn't just negate the one card, it does so much more. It literally ends their turn. It punishes them so intensely for activating that Crossout. It is going to end their turn and possibly lose them the game, but in addition to that, they might have to make second judgments about activating another copy, because this is a level 4 Dark Spellcaster. I don't even need to mention how insanely searchable that is. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Mastered Interflex will take your soul.